Hi everyone, it's Yoga with Rose. I'm Philippa Rose and welcome to the second beginners yoga class. So if you haven't checked out the other videos, I'll put them down below so you kind of know some of the things that might be coming up today. For the people that have done the videos before, we're going to be working with adding a little bit more flow to some of those poses that you've seen last week and adding in some new ones. So always approaching it with caution, exactly like you hopefully did on the first one. There's going to be some poses you can do, maybe some poses you can't do at the moment. That doesn't mean to say that it won't happen in the future. So always going with patience, with kindness, and I'm sure you will see some really good results. So if you have yourself a yoga block, or if you don't have a yoga block, maybe you've got yourself a book, anything that you could maybe kind of put weight through and be safe, and maybe take a prop with the hips up. Same with our yoga strap. If you don't have a yoga strap, you might have a belt around you. You could always use a belt. Props are just a great thing that help us to make poses that are slightly inaccessible to us at this point more relaxing, and maybe take ourselves a slight bit higher up so we're not going into the full variation of a pose. We don't want any injuries, but we might say to ourselves, okay, well, this might be a variation, might be possible if we have hold of the block or we have hold of a strap. So it's nice to have those on hand just in case you do find that maybe they could make you feel a little bit better. So let's take ourselves onto our backs. The other thing I forgot to mention is if you have a wall near you, that would be great because there'll be some things you might want to try out using the wall. But if you don't equally, so that also doesn't matter. It's just as a potential. So bringing your feet either side of the mat, we're going to let the knees drop in together. And then we're going to let ourselves lie down onto the back. Bring the hands onto the rib cage and taking a big breath in through the nose and out through the mouth. So try and get yourself comfortable here. You might want to bring the shoulder blades down onto the mat so the shoulders feel like there's space between the shoulders and the ears. Maybe you close the eyes, maybe you just keep the focus up towards the ceiling. Don't put too much pressure on having to have anything a certain way, but rather you're just going to let yourself be guided for the next period of the class. Remember, we are just starting out. Whatever we can do is brilliant. What we can't do right now really doesn't matter. There's plenty more opportunities. So allow the spine to come all the way to the floor. Now you might find that the lower back in particular doesn't want to come to the floor. That certainly happens with me. I've got like a slight gap. So trying to, if we can, take that lower spine towards the floor. That might mean that the pelvis feels like it tucks slightly. That's okay. And allow the breath to reach into the belly. Allow your stomach to reach up to the sky and to come back down to the mat. So we're not holding on to anything tight. We're just allowing ourselves to get rid of all the tension. Allow the muscles to give into the floor. And let's take a few more breaths. In through the nose and out through the mouth. Check in with your own rhythm. Notice what your pace is. So you can keep this with you for the rest of the class. And then slowly on our next inhale, let's reach the arms out to the side. Let's take the feet back in line with our hips. And we're taking our knees facing up towards the ceiling. Then we're pressing our hands down either side of the mat. And we're taking a big breath in, scoop the pelvis underneath, and slowly start to shift the hips up towards the ceiling. So let's engage our glutes, protect the spine. Only go as far up as feels comfortable for you. Maybe you don't come to a full lift, maybe you come halfway. And then slowly come to bring yourself back down. So slowly working through the spine to take one section at a time back down to the ground. Take yourself back to a neutral spine. And then we're going to take a big inhale. Scoop the pelvis underneath. And then exhale, let's start to lift the hips back up towards the ceiling. Hold. Notice where the weight is. Are you allowing the weight to spread through the feet? Spread through the hands. And then let's slowly take ourselves back down onto the mat. One stage at a time. When you get yourself all the way down to the mat, we're going to take one knee into the chest and then the other knee. So taking a rock from side to side. Again, keeping the grip with the arms quite loose. So keeping that idea of not loads of tension. We're just beginning. And then we're going to stretch our arms over the head. Let's take our knees together and then reaching our legs out. So once we get to that point that we feel the core engaged, and we don't want the spine to peel off the ground or the hips to peel off the ground. So if you feel that happening, then maybe that's telling you you need to take the knees a tiny bit further back towards your center. We're just trying to switch on the core here. So we're reaching the spine into the ground and scooping the lower belly. Lovely. And then come to press the feet back down to the ground, one leg at a time. And then taking one knee at a time back into the chest, rocking side to side. Now when you're feeling ready, we're going to roll over onto our right hand side and push up through our hand, taking ourselves to a seated position. Now for some people, they feel more comfortable if their hips are higher than their legs. So this is where your block or your book can come in. So you can get yourself a book and then maybe you can place a little cushion on the top so it's not super uncomfortable. We're just placing placing the block underneath the knees. So here you can see that my hips are slightly higher than my knees. I can come even higher up if I have two blocks. And you can really feel that if you were to put something on the top of your legs here at the crease of your hips, it would have to roll down the legs because it isn't an even surface. And we're going to bring our hands to the knees. We're going to take a big breath in, lift the chest. And then on exhale, we're going to come to drop the chin to the chest and scoop the pelvis underneath. So we did this through last time. A big inhale, lift the chest. Exhale, coming to curve. So thinking about that C shape again. And lifting back up. Come to reach the hands out to the side. Spread the fingertips wide. Big breath in. And a big breath out. Hugging the arms behind the back. So opposite hand to opposite shoulder. And we're just going to take a figure of 8 with the torso. We're just loosening up the spine a tiny bit. This might feel a bit weird. You might not be used to moving this way. Take your time. You don't have to rush. We're not in a public class, so nobody's going to see. And then coming to open the arms back out again. Big breath in. And a big breath out. This time taking the hands back to the knees. Now let's slowly take away the block if we have a block underneath of us. And if we don't, then everybody's going to come around to bring ourselves onto our hands and our knees. Any pressure on the knees if it's uncomfortable, please give yourself a cushion underneath them. Give themselves a tiny bit more support. And we're going to tuck our toes underneath. So from here, we're pushing back towards our heels first. taking a small child's pose. And then on our inhale, we're going to come back up onto the hands. So remember those small things that were shoulders in line with wrists, our fingertips are widely spread. And then we're dropping back towards the heels again, big breath in. And a big breath out, we're going to reach back up into that tabletop position, nice long spine. Let's do that through one more time. So big breath in, start to take the pelvis towards the heels. And on our big breath out, we're coming to reach back forward, up into our tabletop position. From here, shift the hips towards the right of the room and take your focus to that left heel. Coming back to center, big breath in. On your exhale, start to shift the hips to the left and take the focus to that right heel. Coming back to the center. Let's work with our cat-cow. So we're thinking again about the pelvis tucking under and then reaching away towards the sky. We broke this down in the last video. So first, let's just work with the pelvis. So the pelvis is lifting up towards the sky, the tailbone lifting up towards the sky. And on our exhale, we're going to tuck the pelvis underneath, scoop the lower belly in and push through our hands. So push the ground away. Come back to a neutral pelvis again, and we'll start to add the head in. So on our inhale, let's lift the focus up towards the sky and take our pelvis up towards the sky. Now our exhale, we're going to start to curve the pelvis underneath, push into the hands and take that chin to the chest. Lovely. Inhale, coming to lift up halfway. And then exhale, coming to scoop the pelvis back underneath, tuck everything back in. A few more times through, so just loosen off the spine, take your time. Find that point where maybe it's a little bit challenging for you and just think about all those extra things you can do to work with loosening off that spine. Just take a few at your own pace, at your own time, really working with connecting the two together. So connecting the tailbone and the head together. Try to get them working at the same time, get the breath working at the same time. And then when you've come to take your last one, let's bring our knees either side of the mat. Big toes coming to touch and reaching back towards our heels. Or if this is uncomfortable, let's take our knees together. And if this is uncomfortable, we're just going to bring ourselves around onto a seat. So remember, always think about those variations that suit your body, that is available to you. And if you have your block or your books, then you can take yourself higher up into this position. So it can be hard to get that crease to happen in the hips to begin with if maybe our hips are generally a little bit stiff. Maybe there's not the movement there at the moment. Let's take a few more breaths. And we're going to bring ourselves back up onto our hands and our knees. So working a tiny bit with a balance, tiny bit with a twist. Right, perfect. So, bring ourselves back up onto our hands and our knees. And we're going to think about our left leg pushing away to the back of the room. So push that heel towards the back of the room. Press through the hands, find your support. If you think you have a little bit of balance that you want to try, then come up onto the fingertips of the right hand to begin with, and then reach the right hand off. So find the balance in between those 2 points. So now what's supporting us is our left hand and our right leg. Hold for a few breaths here if you can, before pressing that right hand back down to the ground. And we're going to cross our left leg over towards the right hand side of the room. So taking a big breath in A big breath out. We can stay where we are with the focus in between the hands, or we can come to take our focus towards our left leg. So we're adding a tiny bit more of a twist into our body. It can feel pretty intense at the start. If at any point you want to take yourself back, feel free, do what feels good for you. Always do what feels good for you. Don't push it. Listen to your body. And then coming to take that leg straight the way back. So we're still keeping with our toes to the floor. And we're just going to rock forward and back. So rocking forward onto the toes and pushing back through the heel. Now you won't get the heel to the floor, but it's really just that action of pushing forward and back, loosening off the ankle slightly. This is quite a nice one to do before we do our downward facing dog, just because it helps loosen up the ankle, up the calf. And then taking ourselves back to our hands and our knees. So setting ourselves up right. Make sure you're strong in the hands. And let's take a big breath in and push our right leg away. Maybe we come to a balance, maybe we don't. So that would be reaching up onto the left hand and then lengthen away with the left hand, push away with that right foot. Now engage the toes, imagining you're flexing that foot. Hold. Then come to press the hand to the floor and start to cross that right leg over to the left hand side. Now remember, you can take the focus towards that right heel if you want to, or maybe you just stay with the focus in between the hands. And let's take a few more breaths. Lovely. Then start to reach back that right leg. So I'm going to bring myself a tiny bit further forward actually, so I still keep my foot to the floor. And so we're rocking forward into the toes and pressing back through the heel. Just doing this through a few times, only going to the point of comfort. You might find that one ankle feels like it has a tiny bit more range of movement than the other. That could be quite normal. And then slowly coming to release, bring yourself back onto the knees or a seated position. We're going to stretch the hands away. Big breath in. Big breath out. Bringing the hands together, the elbows together. And start to make a circle of 8 one way. And the other way. So trying to still keep the elbows together if we can. Take your time. And then come to release. Bring the hands to the knees. Bring the shoulders away from the ears. Lifting tall. Big breath in. Big breath out. Big breath in. Big breath out. So from here, we're going to take ourselves up to the top of the mat. So let's tuck our feet underneath. Bring the chin to the chest. Start to let the heels come to the floor. And let's slowly start to unfold the spine until we get ourselves to standing. Now let's bring ourselves to the top of the mat if we're not there already. And bring our feet hip-width distance apart. So we're going to go through our Sun Salutations A, which is in the video that I have underneath. So check out, what variation suits your body. I'm going to show the full variation, but that does not mean you have to do the full variation. If you look through that video, you'll see that you can take a variation for almost everything. So find that thing that works the best for you, because you don't want to injure yourself, you want to work within your means. So inhale, let's bring the arms above the head. And exhale, let's come to fold. Drop the head. Taking a big exhale. Inhale, coming to lift up halfway, nice long spine. Exhale, coming to step back. I have a little visitor here. Focus forward and lowering down. Inhale, coming to lift up halfway or to the full expression. Make sure you engage into the glutes. Exhale, coming to fold back. Tucking toes underneath. Big breath in. Exhale, coming to shift back towards the heels. And then up towards your downward facing dog. Now start to spread the fingertips nice and wide. Get yourself comfortable. This is the first downward facing dog we've done of the class so far. So you might find your heels take a little bit longer to come to the floor. That's okay. Start to pedal the feet. Bend the knees. Take the pressure off the spine, off the hamstrings. Think about pushing away the ground with the hands. And the focus through the feet. Now on your next inhale, we're just going to walk our hands towards the back of the mat. Let the arms hang, the head hang, and slowly start to unfold. Inhale, coming to take the hands above the head. And exhale, coming to take the hands to the heart center. So we're going to do that through one more time. Think about your breathing. So we're just trying to work with our inhalation or exhalation. Where's the point that we can work with it? If you miss it at a certain stage, just take a pause and get yourself back in sync with the breath. Don't worry, don't give yourself too much pressure. We're in this together. So bend the knees, inhale, lift, hands above the head. Exhale, come to fold. Let the head hang. Inhale, lifting up halfway, nice long spine. Now, since we're at the back of the mat, we're going to take an exhale and walk our hands forward and bring our knees to the floor. Taking a big inhale. Exhale, focus forward and lower down. Lovely. So taking a big breath in, pushing through the ground either halfway or all the way up. On your exhale, coming all the way back down. Pushing back towards the heels and taking yourself up to downward facing dog. So pedal the heels. Again, loosen off the hips. Check in what feels good for you. If maybe you want to take a pause here, it feels too much to be in downward facing dog. You always have child's pose available for you. So this can be dropping onto the knees or taking the knees either side of the mat and taking your rest here. Remember, always choose the option that is going to work the best for you. We're going to take a few more breaths. And then let's start to tuck the toes underneath. Slowly start to unfold the spine. And bring ourselves back up to standing. So we're back at the back of the mat. Now on our next inhale, we're going to step forward with our right leg. Stepping up with our left leg. So we're just a little bit away from the top of our mat. So we're going to think about our hips shifting back in our chair pose and our arms reaching forward. So big breath in. And on our big breath out, start to shift the hips back and reach the arms forward. Check in, you can still see the toes. Perfect. Engage the core. Hold for a few more breaths. And then start to push away the ground with the feet and bring yourself back up to standing. Lovely. Arms strong by the sides, reaching down the shoulders. Imagine that you're taking hold of the mat that's beneath your feet. And we're going to take one step forward, right foot, one step back, left foot. So we're bringing ourselves into a high crescent lunge to begin with. So we're going to work with the flow like I was just talking about. So we're going to flow in between our crescent warrior, our crescent lunge, our warrior 1, our warrior 2, and then we're going to test our balance with our warrior 3. So a little thing to help you and just to kind of give you a heads up, if you struggle a tiny bit with balances, then I really suggest if you have your yoga block, take it just to the top of your mat, or if you have a book or you have anything in fact that is safe for you to put your weight through and that's not going to any way hurt you, then I just put it to the top of your mat so you have it at those points when you need to balance. So, begin with, let's take our arms behind us. So we're going to take a big breath in and a big breath out. Let's sweep the arms and lift them above the head. Now, if you feel like you can take that leg a tiny bit further back and you're still stable and strong in that front leg, then feel free to do that. Otherwise, keep your stance small. Now next, after taking a few counts of breath here, we're going to step this back leg in, one step, and we're going to think about the toes coming just towards the corner of our mat for our warrior one. So remember, we're talking about kind of like a slight angle. And we're still bending into the knee of that front leg. So knee in line with ankle, strong through that back leg, hips facing forward, arms reaching up, but shoulders away from the ears. So avoid that hunching. Think shoulders down and away from the ears. Let's take a few counts of breath here. Get comfortable, feel the ground beneath you, push away the ground. Few more breaths here. Remember to breathe steady. Then come to bring the hands to the hips. Now from this position, it's always best to just take a further step up so you can get yourself safely adjusted. We're going to bring ourselves into our warrior two. So think about stepping that left leg back, and this time our toes are facing directly to that edge of our mat on the left hand side. Check in that you feel safe, you feel that you have strength and control in this stance. So before we layer up the arms, check that that's working for you. You're strong through that back leg. Our foot doesn't want to peel off, but it's strong and down to the ground. Our front knee is facing forward, and we're reaching the arms above the head. Big breath in. And on our big breath out, let's take the arms in line with the shoulders. And then let's bring our focus through that middle finger, bring tension into the arms. Big breath in. And big breath out. Big breath in. And big breath out. Big breath in. And big breath out. Coming to bring the hands back to the hips. Now we're going to take all of our toes and our focus back towards the front of our mat. So imagine back towards the first position, which was our crescent lunge. So bringing ourselves back, hips facing forward. Now this is where I was talking about the balance coming in. So if you feel like you need support, then I would suggest taking your hands onto your balance helper and come onto the toes of that back foot. Now our focus is just ahead of us. This is our warrior three. So what we want to do is shift that weight forward and then slowly start to bring that left heel up towards the sky. So we're thinking about being one nice long line. If you want to test the balance, you'd bring your hands to the heart center. Let's hold for as long as you can. Just a few breaths is the longest we will do though. But at any point you need to opt out, opt out. Think about the toes reaching the floor, the pinky toe reaching the floor, so the hips are facing down. And then coming to step back with the leg. Bring the hands to the hips and bring yourself back on top of the legs. Perfect. So let's add a little bit more of a flow element to that. So we're starting again from our crescent lunge. So this will feel maybe a tiny bit faster, but trusting that you have those movements, pause the video, come back to the start where I went through at this pace until you feel like you want to speed it up. So big breath in, lift the arms and find yourself comfortable in that crescent lunge. Focus forward, breathing easy. And then we're slowly going to step that foot, back leg, toes reaching the corner of our mat, reaching forward into that front leg. Big breath in, big breath out. few counts of breath. Coming to bring the hands to the heart center on your next exhale. Start to turn the hip out completely. That left hip is completely turned out now. Our toes are facing towards the edge of the mat. And we're reaching our knee, our front knee to the front of the room. So bring the arms over the head, big breath in. Exhale, press the hands in line with the arms. Finding yourselves a few breaths here. Big breath in and a big breath out. Big breath in, big breath out. Then start to turn the hips back to face the front of the room. Bring the hands either to the block or hands to the heart center. We're going to shift the weight forward into that front leg and lift the back leg off. Hold, hold, hold. Breathe easy. Remember, the balance is something that always comes and goes. And stepping back with that back leg. Stepping the feet to the top of the mat. Bring the hands to the heart center. Well done. Big breath in. Big breath out. Big breath in. Big breath out. Now we're going to take ourselves to the second side. So our second side is stepping our right leg back. Left knee reaching forward. Reaching the arms above the head. Big breath in. Big breath out. Finding yourself directly through the hips here. Not reaching forward or back, but right on top of our hips. Hold for a few counts of breath. Focus intention forward. We're coming to bring the hands to the hips. Taking that back leg in one step and thinking about the toes of the back foot coming towards the edge of our mat at a slight angle. When you feel strong in that front leg, we're reaching the hands back above the head for our warrior one. Big breath in. Big breath out. Now remember, the size of your lunge does not have to be wide to begin with. You might just want to take it small like you see here. So you know that you're building strength and you're aware of your alignment. That's one of the most important things. Being aware of where the body is in space. Now slowly take the hands back to the hips. Let's start to turn out the hip and bring ourselves toes of the back foot now facing directly to the edge of our mat. So we're coming into our warrior two position. We're strong, we're externally rotating the hips. Big breath in, lift the hands. Exhale, pressing the hands in line with the shoulders. Focus through the middle finger. Reaching the weight forward into that front leg as much as we are through that back leg. Keep grounding through the back leg. Big breath in. And big breath out. Big breath in, strong arms. Big breath out. Come to take the hands back to the hips and let's turn them all the way to face back to the front of the room. So we're finding ourselves stable for our warrior three balance. Maybe we're coming to take the hands to our block. Our focus forward before we start picking off that back leg. So our right leg coming off the ground, maybe testing the balance of the hands to the heart. Focus forward, pinky toe reaching towards that ground. So the tendency is to want to lift and turn out the hip, but think about it coming to the floor. Now on your next inhale, we're taking the hands back to our balance block and our big toes back down together at the top of our mat. Start to bend the knees and unfold the spine. Bring the hands back into the heart center. Let's take a few counts of breath before we do that through again, just a tiny bit quicker. So just think about all the poses, the alignment. Remember, I'm always going to guide you through. So you don't have to worry about anything. You just do what your body can do. If you skip poses, you skip poses. Just join back in at a time that feels good for you. You do not have to do everything that you see. Okay, perfect. So stepping back, left leg. Left leg, sorry, that is completely wrong. Right leg. Big inhale, lift the hands. Big exhale, finding the balance in between those 2 points. Focus forward. Big breath in and big breath out. Lovely. Taking the hands to the hips, let's step that foot back in 1 step, toes to the edge, towards the edge of the mat, just at a slight angle, and bringing the arms back above the head. Big breath in, big breath out, only taking a few counts here. Lovely. Now bring the hands back to the hips. Let's turn out our right hip. So the toes are now facing directly towards the edge of our mat. We're reaching the arms above the head. Big breath in. Exhale, press the arms in line with the shoulders. Our front knee tracking forward, in line with the ankle. Focus along that middle fingertip. Big breath in. Big breath out, lifting tall through the crown of that head. Only one more pose to do after this of this sequence. You're doing brilliant. Now on your next exhale, let's start to turn both of the hips to face the front. Bring our hand towards the block, or maybe if we're going without this, hands to the heart center. Focus forward, find yourself grounded through that front leg before you kick off the right heel to the sky. Focus forward, hold, hold, hold. Breathe in, breathe out. And coming to take both feet together. Drop the head. If you have hold of a block or a balance, use the balance block to help you. Shaking the head left to right. And then coming to unfold the spine. And taking the hands by the sides. So a great thing with our Warrior 3 to work with if you have a wall, and the reason why I said about a wall actually, was it can be quite nice if you just take the hands to the wall. You take one leg in front and one leg back, and you're just thinking about reaching it away. So you have the hands on the wall to help push away, can be quite nice to feel quite grounded and secure, or equally so the opposite way. So if we have our right leg, I'm about to fall, right leg to the wall, and taking our left leg forward. Now once we've got that nice long line, we're pushing away that leg as we reach forward. So it'd be really, really good to find that stability, because you really have the power to push through the heel on the floor. So you can find and sense what it is to drop the hip down, to push and flex that back foot. So when I'm talking about an active leg, that's what I'm talking about. When we have no point to have a resistance, we can sometimes kind of have a floppy leg, but that gives us that feeling to kind of build, to know what the feelings we can feel when we come to standing. Okay, so perfect. Now, the next thing I want to go through is a squat position. So we're taking our toes now facing the longest direction of our mat. So not towards the front, the longest direction now. And our toes are reaching out in that V shape again that I was talking about. Slight angle. And we're taking the hands to the heart center. Big breath in, lifting tall. And then on our exhale, we're going to bring ourselves down into a squat position. Now you might find, like what I just did, I kind of took my feet too wide. So you can readjust and bring yourself up here. For some people, maybe the heels are not actually connected to the floor at this point. That does not matter. It's really about keeping the knees coming out to the side so we're working safely. And if ultimately this is just not happening today, again, don't force it, don't worry, just bring yourself up to a seated position. And you can just take the knees in towards the chest here, and you can take a a comfortable few breaths. So if we're here, we're working with reaching through the crown of our head. So it's quite hard to do. It's a lot to do with our hips. It's a lot to do with our flexion that we have in our ankle. There's a lot of things going on here, so don't be too hard on yourself if it doesn't feel easy or it's not possible today. And then we're going to push through our heels and bring ourselves back up to standing. If you were seated, then just bring yourself up to a standing position in your own time. And we'll take ourselves back to the top of our mat. Let's additionally work with a tiny bit more balancing again. So this time we're working through another flow, a really small flow. I'll show you it through first, then we'll go through it at a faster pace. So to begin with, let's ground through our left leg and reach off that right heel. The leg does not have to be high off of the floor, it can just be off the ground. And you can find yourself a support to a wall if you feel uncomfortable being in a space where you can't have support. Bring the hands to the heart center, shoulders away from the ears. Big breath in and big breath out. Big breath in and big breath out. Now if you have your block, you can take the hands to the block and then step that right foot back. We're going to bring our foot in one step so we can take the heel to the floor. So we get more of a calf stretch here, hopefully. If you don't get a calf stretch here, maybe you're really lucky and your calves are nice and loose. A few more breaths. Reach through the crown of that head. And then let's come back up on top of the legs. From here, let's start to lengthen through that front knee. If it's comfortable to keep the knees, the legs straight, brilliant. If it's not, take a micro bend, alleviate pressure off the hamstrings. We're just going to bring the hands to the hips, and we're going to only come over halfway over the legs. And then on our inhale, we're going to come to reach back up. And then our exhale, we're going to come to reach back forward. Inhale, reach back up. And exhale, reach back over. Now start to bend back into that front knee, step the feet together. Reach the arms over the head. Interlace the fingers. And take a gentle reach to the right hand side and to the left hand side. Only go as far as the core will keep switched on. And then take the hands to the hips. So let's do that through a tiny bit faster. So let's push the weight through the left leg, reaching off the right heel. Big breath in. On our big breath out, we're stepping back with that right leg. Bring the back heel to the floor. A few counts of breath. Reaching, reaching, reaching. On our next inhale, let's start to lengthen through that front foot. Big breath in. Big breath out. Take the torso over halfway. Inhale, coming to lift back up. Exhale, coming to reach back over. Inhale, coming to lift back up. Exhale, taking the torso back over the front leg. Only come as far as is comfortable. Start to bend into that front knee. Step the feet together. Reach the hands over the head. Bring the hands touching. Taking a slight reach towards the right hand side. Engage the core. And then slight to the left. And back on top of the legs, hands towards the heart center. So let's go second side. So find the weight into that right leg, and to begin with, just taking the foot off the ground. Remember, height of the knee does not matter. Test the balance. And then we're going to reach back our left leg and place the heel to the floor. If we have a block, maybe we take the hands to the block. Otherwise, maybe we just keep the hands towards the heart center. Let's give ourselves a few breaths here. Breathing into the legs, breathing into the body. Then we're going to push away the ground with that front leg. Bring the hands to the hips. Maybe keeping that front knee with a soft bend, maybe lengthening. I'm taking a big inhale, lift. Exhale, lengthening over that front leg halfway or at the point that is comfortable. And then inhale, coming to lift. Inhale. Exhale, fold. Inhale, reaching back on top of the legs. Exhale, fold. And then we're going to step the feet together, reach the hands over the head, taking a small tilt to the left, small tilt to the right. Remember, protect the spine, engage the core, only go as far as comfortable, and taking the hands into the heart center. So let's do that through, tiny bit more faster. If you need to keep it slow, then just rewind and go back through the slower version and ignore this faster paced one. So inhale, lift the left leg off the ground. Big breath in, big breath out. Start to push the heel away and bring it down to the floor. Nice long spine, either hands to the block or your support or hands to the chest. Big breath in, big breath out. Bring the hands to the hips. Start to lengthen that front knee or to where is comfortable. Big breath in, big breath out, fold halfway. Big breath in, reaching up. Exhale, come to fold. Inhale, lifting up halfway. Exhale, coming to fold. Step the feet together, bring the arms above the head. Shift the hips slightly to the left, slightly to the right, slightly to the left, and slightly to the right. Come back up on top of the legs, bring the hands to the heart center. Lovely. So that's 2 little flows that you've already done today. And we're going to take ourselves down onto our seat. So taking the hands down to the floor, come to bend the knees. And then walk your hands back to bring yourself onto the legs. So with our seated poses, we're just going to go through a few that we can use with our props. But also you don't need to use props. It's just quite nice to know the kind of extra options available. So to begin with, we're going to take a little seat up on our block, or equally if we don't have our block, just take a seat. And our feet are going to reach forward. Now we've got our toes flexing up towards us. Our spine is nice and long and the crown of our head is reaching up towards the sky. Now if we have our strap or our belt, taking our feet slightly closer together, bend the knees and take the strap around the feet. Now optional if you want to start straightening the legs or keeping them bent, and we're just going to use the tension in that strap, our focus reaching forward to bring ourselves closer over our legs. Now you can see why a strap is quite good. So if you can't get your hands towards your feet, this just takes away the pressure of the spine starting to round, essentially letting your ego come into the practice. We want to avoid that as much as possible. And always move with safety. Big breath in and big breath out. Big breath in and big breath out. Slowly come to release the strap. Taking it towards the side of the room, we're going to flex that left leg. So our left foot's coming towards the floor and our toes of our right leg is reaching up towards the sky. And we're taking a big breath in and we're going to take a really small twist towards our bent knee, so towards that left knee. Now options to just stay exactly where we are, or to take our left hand behind us Take a really small look over that left shoulder. So bringing in a small twist, our arm behind our back, encourage us to keep our spine tall. If we don't have our hand behind us, there's a tendency to round, particularly in the lower back, and kind of start to slump. When we do that, it stops our breathing being as smooth. And so the pose might not feel as comfortable. Now come to take yourself back towards the center. Let that left hip open out towards the side. And again, we're reaching over towards that front leg, that extended right leg. If we have our strap, it could be lovely to bring our strap back in here, hook it around the arch of our foot, and take our focus towards that leg. If you don't have a strap and it is already comfortable for you to take your focus, your grip towards your feet, then come to take the grip towards the feet. You can also do this without your left hip being turned out. You can still keep that foot pressed towards the floor and taking a more closed off variation if that's what feels more comfortable for you. And then let's switch sides. So we're coming to draw in the right knee, pressing the foot to the floor. We're extending our left leg. We're reaching nice and tall. Big breath in. And then on our exhale, we're just going to look over towards the right hand side. Maybe this is where we stay. Maybe we take our right hand behind us, lifting nice and tall. And maybe we continue our focus over that left shoulder. Only if it's comfortable to take this twisting action with the spine. If it's not, completely avoid the twist and just keep that focus forward. So keep the toes flexing of the left leg. Keep pushing away the floor with the right foot. Lift tall, continue that nice calm breathing. And then slowly come back right into the center. Now we have two options like we did on the other side. So we can turn out our right hip and let the knee bend and the foot come in towards our right leg. Or we can keep that right foot pressing towards the ground, the knee facing up towards the ceiling, and we can reach forward over that left leg. If we have our strap or we have our belt and it's more comfortable to take hold of the belt or the strap, then take this variation, give yourself time to set up. And take a few breaths here. Continue to think about that long spine and lifting through the crown of that head. Our focus, our attention is just towards the toes of that left foot. And let's breathe a few more breaths here. And then come to slowly release the leg, release the strap. Can keep the block underneath us if we like. We're just taking one leg in front of the other. If you need to prop the hips up higher, prop the hips up higher. I'm just going to slowly walk the hands away, just to that point it's comfortable to be away from the hips. Focus just ahead, taking a few moments here. Calm, steady breaths. We're walking back up with the hands, pressing the feet to the floor. Our knees tracking forward, chin to the chest, rolling back down through the spine. Stretching the arms over the head, let the legs reach away. Taking one knee to the chest, the other knee to the chest. Think about giving yourself a nice big hug. Maybe reaching the upper spine off the floor. Can be quite nice for the lower back in particular. And come to lower back down. Reaching the arms out to the side. Taking the knees together. Big breath in. Big breath out. Let the knees drop across to that left hand side. A few counts of breath. So we're starting that process again of slowing the body down to come to our Shavasana. Feel free to take as long as you need in these positions. Sometimes it can be nice to take a bit longer. And then when you're ready, come across to the right hand side. Big breath in. And a big breath out. Big breath in. And a big breath out. So in these next few moments, give yourself time to grab any extra layers, take a little drink, and then come to take yourself to any comfortable position for you. We're going to go through our final part of the class, the Shavasana, the winding down part, exactly like we did at the end of the last class. Remember, there's a few options. We can do what we did at the very beginning of this class, which was feet either side of our mat, knees dropping in, arms just heavy by the sides. We can extend our legs, let the feet turn out, and then come to take the arms out to the side of the body with the palms facing up. We can also take a seat, or we can come to reach over onto one side or the other. So picking the most restful position for you is always the best idea. When you feel ready, come to close the eyes, soften the jaw, and allow your breathing to come back to its natural rhythm. Feel the inhalation and the exhalation in the body. Feel the tummy rising and drawing back down to the mat, back down to the spine. Feel the chest lifting. And then reaching back down to the ground. Feel the arms heavy, the back of the head heavy if you're on the ground. Feel the weight pouring through the mat wherever you have that connection. Remembering while you're here, there is no pressure to be feeling a certain way, to be doing everything perfect. We are far from perfect humans, so give yourself time. Appears I have another little visitor, so if like me, maybe you have some distractions in today's Shavasana, then just think about how these distractions can sometimes be a little bit like our thoughts. So our thoughts can creep in, maybe when slightly unexpected, and try to direct the flow of our practice. Know that just like our breathing, this comes and goes. So the more we resist this urge to have things a certain way, the harder it can sometimes be for our body to give in to our poses, our mind to give in to our poses, for us to fully let go and allow ourselves to find that flow. So let's take our last few moments here to notice the things that are around us, the sounds, the temperature on the skin. And slowly, when you're ready, coming to bring some movement into the hands and the head. Slowly coming to roll onto the right hand side. And pushing up through the hand. Bring yourself up to any seated position if you are lying on the back. And slowly come to open the eyes, bring light into the body. Taking the hands to the heart center, reaching the arms up to the forehead, back to the heart center. Namaste. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you for joining me for another practice, or if this was your first class, thank you for choosing to take a flow with me for your first class. Keep in touch. If you have any questions, feel free to ask me questions. I'll do my best to get straight back to you. Next week's class we'll be working more with our balances, adding a few more poses that we weren't familiar with yet, and just continuing that process of layering everything on. I hope you feel lighter. I hope you feel ready for your day or ready for your evening, whatever you have planned. And again, thank you so much.